Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to your live Investment Dominator Q&A call. This is Warren Davis, and I do apologize. I'm a minute late this evening. A minute late. I have had several of these broadcasts, and I've never ever been late. So I'm sorry. I do apologize for being a minute late. This is Monday. It is the 9th of December. And it's a stormy Monday over here in Arizona. I don't know if it's storming other places, but we're having a little bit of weather over here, but it's still nice because it's always nice to get rain. So hope everybody's doing well today, and we are here to get your questions answered. Hopefully you can see my screen. There's already some questions coming in. And so that's what we're here for, is to get your questions answered, get you at least to the right source so that you can get your questions answered. And we'll be looking into first the questions that we had. We had coming from the 5th, which is last Thursday. And being this the 9th now, we are heading into our holiday time. And so we got questions around the Investment Dominator. We also have questions around some of the business processes. So we hope that we can get them all answered. And of course, those of you that are brand new, I see some new names on with us. So those of you that are brand new, if we don't get your questions answered today, we will have an answer for you hopefully by Thursday, 12 noon. Those of you that are brand new, we want to make sure you know how to get your questions answered. So what is going on here with hopefully you can see my screen. Okay. It's not allowing me to change from getting your questions answered. That's weird. Let's see here. What is going on? Okay, I want to go back to the previous. Interesting. Well, we'll just give it a minute here. Hopefully, I won't have to do any rebooting. But anyway, you can see my screen. Thank you very much, Harold. I appreciate that. And I'm assuming you can hear me okay, because my indicators show as normal. But anyway, we want to get your questions answered. So we want to be able to have you in the control box. Excellent. Thank you, Harold. In the control box, we want you to be able to type in your questions and hit send, and you should be able to get your questions to me. So right away, we've had a series of questions come in. Again, I'm going to have to defer some of those questions until I get a couple of questions answered from Thursday. I see your question there, Harold. So I will get to that as soon as I can. Let me pull up my Investment Dominator screen here. Hope everybody's ready to have a nice Christmas holiday, that you're getting ready for Christmas, and that you're going to either be spending some time with some family or with some good friends. So here we go with our Investment Dominator screen. And we're of course on the land deals records. Now one of the first questions we had come in, which let's see, if I start that one question from Harold here about the connecting Investment Dominator, I'll be there for a little while. So I'm going to get to some of our previous questions here, and then we will circle back to Investment Dominator, connecting it to another site. So in any case, this is the first question had to do, let's see. Let me get it correct here. Okay, for Jennifer on, I think it was 12.2, but we did address that question anyway. The question was, how do we use Netronline for assistance? And those of you, if you remember, Netronline is a tool that we use if you want to go into different county sites without having to know exactly how to migrate the county site. So just real quick, if I call up netronline.com, it looks something like this, and you just go into public records, and depending on what state you're in, you can let's say if we're in North Carolina or we're in Texas or wherever we're at, you could, let's say, go to Texas, and then automatically it brings up all of the counties that are in Texas. And let's just say if we were going to look at, I'm looking for a good county. There's a lot of counties in Texas. Let's just go to El Paso County in Texas. It brings you right in to be able to access the data online. So you can go into the accessor, you can go into the GIS mapping, and just say click online, and it brings you right into the site. So that's an example of using Netronline just to get into various county sites. Okay, if I want to go to another site, let's say if I'm in North Carolina, I know a little bit about North Carolina, so I might just say, well, I want to go into, let me find Franklin. Okay, here's Franklin County, North Carolina, and I want to go right into the assessor data. I can just go right online, and it brings me right into the Franklin County site. So this is just an example, and I can go right into tax collection search, or if I want to see about either searching the records to pull up some kind of county information on a particular parcel, if I have the parcel ID, or I can go by, of course, the owner's name. But this just gives you a quick way to get right into your respective counties without having to know how to migrate, and you don't have to have their URLs to access that. So that was our first question that we wanted to make sure that you could. So how to access county sites, quickly. That's just one way to do it quickly. Now, just for your own edification, and just so you know, there is another tool that some folks use there, to, if I can find out exactly, let's see the URL for that one. There's another one, I think it's called parcelfact.com, and there it is, brings up. This is another one that you can use. So you can use either, Netronline or parcelfact.com. And now the only thing about parcelfact.com, there's pricing involved with that one, but basically it's designed for you to be able to go into, and I mean, they make it real easy. Basically, you can just put in, if you have a parcel number and you have a city and a state, or even a county and a state and the parcel, that's all the information you need. And parcelfact.com will bring you right into, it'll bring you all the data up right on your screen for that particular parcel. It's not a lot of folks use this because, like I say, there is pricing involved, and so you pay so much for their access each month. So we don't push that a lot because a lot of the times you can access either through Net or online, and that's free. So you can kind of achieve the same thing through Net or online. Parcel Fact is just a little bit faster, and it allows you to pull data quickly for your various counties. So it's up to you how you might want to use one or the other, but just want you to know about both of those. Okay, so we get right into another one of our Investment Dominator questions. How do you change? And this was from James on last Thursday. Okay, how to change the size of your logo. Now, he didn't specify buying or selling site logo, but they're both, on either your buying or selling site. So, okay. And he said how to change the size of your logo. And, I've looked into this briefly. We do know that when you go into customize and you look for your buying or your selling site, here is your logo, and basically it has a certain size, and first of all, it's got to be a JPEG or a PNG or certain format of file. But and you can either upload a logo or you can generate a logo. We allow you to do either one. But in terms of the size of this actual logo, in bringing it into Investment Dominator, we don't really have a way for you to change the size of your logo. So that's the short answer. I bring up my buying site here. You can see that this logo, that appears here, it's on this main line, and this is the size that it's going to come in. The only way to decrease that, and really there is no way to decrease the actual size of it, whether you generate it through Investment Dominator or you bring it into, you upload the logo image, or you generate the logo image. Either way, the pixel size for that is 207 pixels wide by 54 pixels high. So in order for it to be readable, so that people can really see a clear version of your logo, that's the pixel size that's required. Selling sites, the same way. All right, you have a selling site. This is my opt-in page, but if you have a logo on your selling site, it's exactly the same situation, buying or selling. So your pixel size again is 207 pixels wide by 54 pixels high. And hopefully when you go to actually bring it in, you'll bring it in that size. If you bring it in, larger or smaller, it can sometimes distort the clarity of your logo. So I'm sorry, right now we don't have the capability to control the size of your logo at this time, James. Hopefully that'll help you at least bring it in so that it's the most clear by using those pixel sizes. So we had another question, number 3. Let's see. From Jerry. Jerry had submitted a question, and this came from outside of our actual Investment Dominator group that we had on Thursday, but it was a good question that came in from one of our students, and it's more of a business question. So I'll do one business question now, and then we'll get right back to Investment Dominator. And the business question has to do with the seller there's a seller that appears to be getting a little bit impatient. And I think this is a very good question to ask and to have answered, so that, those of you that might be at the point where you've sent offers back to people. So here's the process. You've already sent your neutral letter out. You got a response back from your neutral letter where this person says, I want an offer on my property. You have already sent them an offer, and now they're calling you back because you put on there a date that you want to close. Now, in our company, we give ourselves 180 days, which is 6 months basically to close. So around this time of year, it's not uncommon for the sellers, because they want you to close, you already told them they're going to get X amount of dollars for their property. So they're looking to close as quickly as possible, and you have it under contract. So they're really trying to urge this process along, hopefully get those dollars in before Christmas time, or maybe before New Year's, whatever their goals are. And we do promise them a quick close if at all possible. So my student is saying that, basically this seller is getting impatient. Now he has a contract that goes until the end of December 31st. So with a contract that goes to December 31st, you have until that time to actually close. So his question to me was, okay, well, what do I tell this seller that's getting kind of impatient? And so my answer to him was that I normally explain to the seller that first of all, we do our due diligence regarding any property that we purchase. And even though we give ourselves, 180 days, 6 months, that sounds like a long time. But what I explained to them along with that 180 days to close, that we have other properties in inventory that we're working to close on. And many more, it takes us more than it may take us more than the next 30 days to close on that property. Now, I don't know if this particular property has been under contract for more than 180 days, or if it's been 90 days or 60 days. He didn't specify that, but basically he has until the end of the month to close on this property. And let's just say it's been at least 90 days, and the seller is getting impatient. It's normal for them to get impatient around this time of year. So those of you that might have properties under contract that sellers are looking for you to close, it's not uncommon for them to put a little pressure on you to close. So that's the first thing I tell them, is that we take our time to do our due diligence. We are sometimes at the mercy of weather conditions when we have people going out checking our properties. Depending on what part of the country that is in, you may have some kind of weather conditions that impact you having to have people go out and check the property. So we share that with them as well. And we tell them we're working with several other partners. This is another thing we share with them. We're working with several other partners, and it takes time to determine exactly how we're going to use this parcel in some of our short or long range acquisition plans. That's something that they do understand, that we're purchasing this property for a purpose. So we're putting it into one of our plans, and we want to make sure that we know exactly how we're going to utilize their property. We also tell the seller sometimes, this is another thing we might say, that we requested 180 days to close. We're able to close a lot of times in a shorter length of time, but Mr. Seller or Miss Seller, please be patient. We've got the holiday season upon us, and it may take a little bit more time for us to close on your property, working with our title company, and we have to coordinate their schedules as well. So these are just different reasons and rationale you can give a seller that they do understand, and just be polite with them and tell them we appreciate your patience, regarding this matter. And some sellers don't take into account the fact that you have to work with a title company. And those of you that have ever worked with a title company, don't be surprised if they take a little bit of time getting to your particular file. So sometimes in order to have the title company complete your closing, on time or early, it takes you really staying on top of them. I mean, calling them sometimes every 2 or 3 days to see where your file is and, who's addressing your particular file. If you just let it set and you don't talk to them, they might push yours to the bottom of the list. And, it's kind of like in the situation that squeaky wheel gets the grease. So you need to be talking with your title companies and making sure they know you're interested in closing on this property. Okay, so I'm hoping that gives you some ideas about how you might deal with your sellers. Now, some of them, and this has happened to us, where they've gotten really a little impatient, and they said, well, hey, if you can't do anything for us, here in the next couple of weeks, we're just going to withdraw our contract. Well, you tell them, okay, well, you can do that, but I have a signed contract with you that goes out, so many days, and as long as I haven't passed that date, we're still supposed to be able to work together. But even so, if they get upset and they just kind of like want to say, I want to back out of the deal, you don't just let them do that. You call their attention to the fact that you have a signed contract, and you're going to work with them to complete it as quickly as possible. We have had the situation where people have just backed out and said, look, I don't want to I don't want to work with you guys. You guys are taking too long. So we've been gracious about it, and we've let them pass. We let them out, right? So we wait a month or two, maybe a couple of months. We call them back up, and we say, how's it going with your property? Is it possible that we can still, you want to sign a new contract with us, and we'll work with getting it sold? And lo and behold, even after a couple of months have gone by, they realize they're not doing anything with that property. They then come back and they'll sign a new agreement with us to go out another 180 days. All right. So hopefully that gives you an idea. Folks are asking me, how we deal with sellers, and in this particular holiday season, what we might be doing in terms of, how much business are we doing. And this is a good time of year, especially to get properties under contract. So we encourage you to keep on moving forward with, sending out those letters and taking care of your offer requests. So let's see. Let me see if I can get at least one of your questions here, Harold. And that is about how do you connect Investment Dominator with www.landcalls.com. All right, I don't know exactly how landcalls.com interfaces with other sites. Let's see. All right, but I can tell you how you pass information within Investment Dominator to other platforms or other sites. And we use a tool here. I'm going under help. You can see my screen, search your user guide under help. And I'm just going to put in Zapier. Hopefully that will come up with some articles. So in order to set up Investment Dominator to integrate with any other site or any other application, here's an article, how to set up an API or Zapier.com connection. And Zapier basically is a tool that we use here on the Investment Dominator side to connect with other, or to pass data, I should say, from Investment Dominator to other sites. So you can set up this Zapier connection. What rather than going into all of that on this call, you can just type in Zapier or Zapier.com. This will come up. This will then give you some steps. It'll also give you a video. kind of giving you a high level of what you need to set up for passing information from Investment Dominator to other applications. And so I'm going to first point you here to this particular article. All right, how to set up Zapier.com. And if you have any issues or any questions that you can't answer from looking at this particular series of instructions or this video over here, then what I'm going to recommend you do is go back in under help, and instead of search a user guide, just create a new support ticket. Create a new support ticket and put in what your questions are, what kind of platform you're using, and basically describe what you want to set up. And one of our technical groups will get back with you. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that there. Just call your attention to this article, and then using a support ticket if you need additional assistance. We can't really go into that on this call. It just takes a little too much time. You're very welcome. So, okay, so we didn't provide you with some instructions. And let's see. All right, so we did have another question from last Thursday from Alexis. And just want you to know we appreciate all questions coming from all different levels, and we will do our very best to get them all answered, because I don't think there are any silly questions or unimportant questions. I just think there are questions that you need answers to, and we're happy to do our best to get them answered. So the question she asked was, 28 minutes into the call, is explain how sellers can contact her via, I'm assuming she's talking about her buying website. Okay, via the buying. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah, I think it would be the buying website. Now remember, those of you that are new, the buying websites, your buying website from within Investment Dominator basically says, hey, you buy land, right? So if I were to come, I'm just going to come right into Investment Dominator and go right into my buying site. So the buying site says, you get cash offer for your land. So you're willing to buy land from others that have land for sale. And so if they come into your site, the question is, how can sellers contact you via your buying site? One of the first things they're going to have to do is they're going to have to click on this link here that says sell your land for cash. So if they come into your site, this is the best way. They're going to left click on that, and it's going to bring up this sign or this particular page, which says get a cash offer for your land. And of course, they can put in their name, and I'm just making up this information here. So, okay, so now one of two things is going to happen here. If they do have a reference number, which means that they have basically an owner number in the system, they could enter that here. Chances are, if they're just contacting you for the first time, they may not have their reference number. So let's just say they put in a reference number that is not correct. Just want to let you know, Investment Dominator is going to be checking. So if they try to say get a cash offer now, you'll see this message display, as you see here. Oops, looks like we don't have a record in our system under that name and reference number. So all Investment Dominator did was check this name, check the reference number. And what reference number am I speaking of? I'm speaking of the owner ID. Now this is the property ID here, but remember, each property ID or each owner has a owner ID. This is actually the reference number that the system is referring to. So if it doesn't have a correct reference number, it will put out this message. But let's just say they don't have that to enter, and they say get cash now. Well, it brings up this information screen. So here they can type in, their email address. They're going to type in an email address, and hopefully they'll put in their mailing address information, their city, their state, zip code. They're going to fill in all they can about that particular parcel or their property that they want to sell. Hopefully they have this information correct, the APN and the size of the acreage, and it'll ask them a few more questions about what's actually on the property. Are there power lines? Does it have road access? And once they fill out this information as it is stated, and the fields that are required must be filled out. They're referenced by these little asterisks here. All right, the asterisks say these fields are required. So any field with an asterisk, the seller must put in, or the system will flag it and won't be able to create the record. One of the last fields that they have to verify that this form is complete and correct to the best of their knowledge. They have to check this box here, and then they'll say finish my offer request. So if they press that finish offer request, the system then goes in. The system will automatically put them in offer request. So it's going to put them in pending preliminary research mode, and it's going to create a record for them in the Investment Dominator. So to answer that question, this is how your sellers will find you, or how they can connect with you, Alexis, in the system, is by entering their information here, saying get a cash offer now, and then when they go in and enter all this information, they will hit finish the offer request. So that's the only way they can actually get in touch with you or contact you via your buying site. Okay, good questions. Okay, so again, Harold, you have some good questions coming in here, and we appreciate that. How does the Investment Dominator handle one customer owning several pieces of land? All right. Okay, that's a good question. Handle one customer with several parcels or pieces of land. Okay, and to answer your question, Investment Dominator handles that just fine. And not to be a smarty, I'm just saying, Investment Dominator does a good job of handling that. We come back here to our land deals records. I'll go to all in the process. And let's just say, in this particular case, you can see here, Alex Delencio has multiple parcels. How do we know that? Let's see. I want to use that as an example. Might want to use, okay, let's look at this. Let's see. There's a few folks in here that have multiple parcels. Okay, this is a good example here. James Randy Rosser, okay? And it's located in Harnett. And as you can see, these are different parcels because of the APN. The APN is different on both of these parcels. And you can see that the actual unique ID, is record number 235 and record 236. So these are unique parcels, both owned by Randy Russer. And let's just look at Randy's owner's ID number. So let's check and see how many parcels Randy has. We'll search for the owner ID, 143, and we search and we find that he has at least 3 different parcels. And let's just say, having several pieces of land, if he had another parcel that we wanted to put in, and I'm going to copy this for right now. So if we edit that record, how do you handle that in Investment Dominator? If you want to put in another parcel for the same owner, you just display that owner's record and then come up here under the add additional property, that functionality right there. So what's it going to do? It's going to put his name, he's the owner, and it should duplicate his mailing address, that information, but it won't put in the county information. You need to specify that. It'll put in the APN, no, you have to put in the APN, excuse me. So let's just say this is, different APN number, and it asks for the county it's located in, and we said it was located in Harnett. But this is information that you will need to fill in specific to that particular parcel. So this is how Investment Dominator handles multiple records. Don't forget to put in the size of the property, etc. As much information as you have on that particular parcel, put that in. And when you put that in, obviously you want to always update your record. So that's how Investment Dominator will handle one owner with multiple parcels. Okay. Pretty straightforward, hopefully. And hopefully that will give you some direction. Back to what I call more of a business question that we had come in from last week. Our time goes by pretty fast, and this is a scenario that we're going to look at. You're very welcome, Harold. And this particular one came from Brent. I really appreciate this couple that I get a chance to work with. And his question has to do with, he's looking at a particular owner of a property that wants to sell the property to him. So the seller owes approximately $39,000 on his property. Okay, so now I'm gonna explain why. That's right away when I see a person that has like a mortgage on their property, they're still making payments on their property. I can 9 times out of 10, I would share with you this person may not be an individual that fits into our business model. Remember, we're going to purchase this land for pennies on the dollar. We're actually looking for folks that they're tired of their property. So they've owned their property for years. They're tired of their property. That's our business model. They just want to get out from under those taxes, paying taxes. But if a person still owns or still owes money on their property, they're not what I would consider a tired seller. So in any case, this person owes $39,000 on their property, and he's currently got it listed for approximately $165,000, and he's already told our student that he won't take anything less than $110,000. Now, a lot of times, if a seller of property tells me I won't take less than X amount of dollars, I will still write them up an offer, and based on how Investment Dominator calculates that offer, then let's see here, one that has a market value, like this one here. So again, we calculate our market value by going up here under calculate offer option, and based on what the market value that we've gone into the comps and we have searched that out, based on those comps, Investment Dominator is going to give me a minimum and a maximum. But now, if a person owes money on their property, I'm going to put that here, just like if you had back taxes and penalties, it's like a penalty. And we're going to say, they owe $39,000 on their property. Even if now the analysis came out to be, after he ran, some figures, he found the market to be $133,000 for that property. But now remember, $133,000 is the market. He owes $39,000 for that property. So our student was asking, okay, well, what kind of offer can I really make him? And, based on these numbers. And here, if you go right into Investment Dominator and you put in those numbers, market value of $133,000, and penalties or back taxes or whatever you want to call it, they owe $39,000. Look what Investment Dominator says, no offer, no offer. Okay, so we're going to pretend this is not here right now because we're trying to determine what the offer would be. So basically with this scenario, there's no offer to give this person. And in my opinion, this person does not fit our business model because they still owe money on that property. Almost all of the individuals we've ever done business with do not owe any money on their property. They are people that have, just like our business model says, they're tired. They've been, they've had this property for years. They don't know anything to do with it, and they just want to dump it. So one of my first answers to our student here was that Investment Dominator, when you put these numbers into Investment Dominator, see if there's any offer that it would even calculate. And when you see no offer, basically I would believe that, and I would just tell the seller of this property, well, hey, there's just really nothing we can do with this property here. There's not enough profit margin in it for us, and we really can't, move forward with this deal. So that's why you have this calculator here, to give you an idea of if this particular property fits into our business model. And in this case, there's really nothing that you can do with this property. It's just not the mentality of person that we're looking for here. Okay, so I'm hoping that gives you all a little insight into how we think about the properties. Okay, and again, Harold, I'm going to go back to another one of your questions because it's pretty straightforward and easy to answer regarding when you're mailing out neutral letters. Mailing out neutral letters will Investment Dominator put all parcels on the same letter? No. Okay, remember, Harold, that your neutral letter is simply when we go out and we look at all of our prospects. Okay, these are people that you're reaching out to for the very first time. Your neutral letter is reaching out to somebody saying, hey, we have a company that is interested in purchasing your land. So all you're doing is communicating your interest to this owner that you want to purchase any land that he or she may have. If it doesn't matter if it's owned by one person or if it's owned by multiple people. Your question was, will Investment Dominator, like if this Hector Hengados, if he owned multiple parcels, so if he had multiple parcels with different APMs, would Investment Dominator send a separate letter for every single parcel he owns? And the answer to that is no. If you have multiple parcels owned by the same person, Investment Dominator is not going to send multiple letters to one person, because remember, when your prospects letters go out, if I were to go generate documents here, no matter how many letters or how many parcels one person may own, when I create my documents here, there's only one mailing address, right? There's only one owner, one mailing address. And so this is going to this particular person, this address, and all I'm communicating is, I'm writing you because public records show you as the owner of a property in Davis County. I'm very interested in purchasing this property from you. So Investment Dominator is smart enough to know that, you know, if this person has another parcel, that it's only going to create one letter, and it's only going to, so your signature is going to come on that, and you're going to send one letter to each person, even though they might own multiple parcels. It won't duplicate so that you're sending, you know, if one owns 4 parcels, you're going to get 4, they're going to get 4 letters. No. Now, when it comes to offers, if they write back, if this Ellis Ferguson would write back and say, yeah, well, I'm interested in, you know, I'm interested in getting quotes or getting offers on all 4 of my parcels, you know, they may write back to you and say that, and they might specify, let's see, if it were Hector here, might specify, yeah, you know, I've got this parcel, and a lot of times they come back when we have, oh, goodness gracious, I'm spacing it. We have our call center, PATLive, logs into our system, and when they have spoken with the actual owner, the owner comes back and says, yeah, I've got this parcel, and I have this parcel, maybe, you know, and we've actually seen them come back with commas, you know, for each parcel of the different parcels that they have. So if that's the case, when you actually generate offers for these parcels, you want to do them individually. And so what would you do? You'd come up here and you'd add an additional property and put in, oh goodness. Oh, it's going to be one of those days. Okay. So you'd have them put in another land record, an additional property record for this particular parcel, and an additional property record for that parcel, and you create individual land records, which would have these unique property ID numbers for each parcel associated with this owner ID 154 Hector Hengados. So that is, hopefully that answers that question for you there, Harold. And let me see if there's, okay, that gets a little bit involved. Another business question that gets a little bit involved. All right, this is one that we can probably answer very quickly. How to connect. It's PATLive to Investment Dominator. And some of you may already know that under the My Team, you can add users to your system very easily. Now, as you can see here, I have PATLive. There's a representative, and this is just an example of what our company looks like. We do have an actual PATLive. We make them a rep status, not an admin status. You always want PATLive to be a rep. And so we have a name, and we have an email address, and we have a username for them to log in. So what you would do if you want to connect PATLive to your Investment Dominator, have someone be able to log in, you come up under Add User, you put in their first name, you know, it might be PATLive Rep, and last name, you know, PATLive. That's really not going to matter that much. Their email is pat@patlive.com. All right, and you don't have to worry about a phone number, but you do want to specify a username for them, and you're going to set them up a password. That's why these fields are in red here. So the way you connect PATLive to Investment Dominator is you give them an actual user ID, and then you come in and you allow them to do certain functions. Do you want them to delete property? Absolutely not. Do you want them to merge property? No. Do you allow them to edit property records? Yes. Delete contacts? No, never. Allow them to edit contacts. You can allow them to edit a contact. Generate letters? Nope, they don't need to generate letters. Generate offers? Nope, they don't need to generate. Generate labels? No. Delete any or allow delete attachments? No. Generate any APIs? Definitely not. And that's the application programming interface, by the way. You definitely don't want to give them that kind of power. Edit menus? No. Edit custom pages? No. Delete custom pages? No. View financial records? Never. All right, so once you select, you basically just want them to be able to come in, edit their records, and then you're going to say finish and add user. So now what you're going to communicate to PATLive is the username and the password for their access for your account, because there's going to be a representative that will show up under my team as a rep, PATLive, and just want to make sure that one of the first things you change here is change this from admin to rep status. You want to make sure they're a rep only and not an admin. Okay, I should have started with that. So anyway, before you even enter their name, make sure you check that they are rep only, and then they will be able to log into your system, and what they'll do is they will take the calls from the prospects. They will log in. They will come in and edit this record. They normally will put in any of this land information. They don't usually put in the short legal description, the property city, hopefully. They don't usually know the property address, property zip. Hopefully they'll put in the right size. A lot of times these fields are left blank, but your representative should be able to come in and fill in as much of this information. They won't know anything about back taxes. You'll usually have to look that up. They do put in a county assessed value. It's usually incorrect. So you'll actually have to go into the Investment Dominator or into the county register, and pull the county assessed. And a lot of times they don't know this property. Now this is where they really do you a good favor, because they will put in any comments from the caller. And depending on what those comments are, sometimes I ignore them, like, I will accept no offer, you know, less than $40,000. Okay. And we look at the county assessed. The county assessed has this assessed at, you know, 12,500. And this person is saying, oh, I'm going to accept nothing less than $40,000. I wouldn't give that much credence. I would just go on and still calculate an offer. But a lot of times they might say that they want to, I would like to receive a call before sending an offer. And in that case, I'll look up their phone number and we'll give them a call and we'll talk to them. All right. In any case, this kind of gives you an idea of what you're going to dealing with. Hopefully, some of the sellers of property, and if you have questions like this, they're very good questions. Thank you for putting it out there, Harold and Elizabeth. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I always appreciate your gracious comments. You guys are some wonderful people. And that's about all we're going to have time for today. So a video, let's see, we do have a video. I can answer this real quick, Gaither. Is there a video how to comp a property in the Investment Dominator? Unfortunately, no. How to comp a property, there is not. Let's see. I'm trying to think if we even had any steps. But you know, Gaither, that's a very good idea for an actual, what we call an article. You know, when you hit help here and then you go into the search a user guide, if we were to have an article, let's say on comps, let's just call it comps. So it might come up, and you can see what comes up is some of the live trainings. So these are live trainings that I've already done that might have something to do with comps. If you look on there, it'll tell you exactly what we might have done, any questions we answered that have to do with comps, and it does have the timestamp out here to the right. So you can go 12 minutes and 20 seconds into that, and I'm answering the question, how can you determine the activity of a specific user in the Investment Dominator? So hopefully, if you, other than Zillow, what are other real estate sites used for pulling comparable figures? Okay, that's probably about as far as we're going. But I may just do an article on comping in the Investment Dominator. So, okay, people. I want you to have a great week. I'm looking forward to being back with you here Thursday at 12 noon. 12 noon our time. So if you're on the East Coast, that would be 2 p.m. your time, and we'll be here answering your questions once again. Before we go tonight, let me leave this thought with you. Live the life of your dreams. Be brave enough to live the life of your dreams according to your vision and purpose instead of the expectations and the opinions of others. That's a quote from Roy T. Bennett. And I want you to know that the fact that you stepped out here and you are taking care of business with your land business and starting your land business, you are people of destiny, you're people of courage, and you're people who can see the future, and you're creating a good future for yourself and your children and your children's children. So I congratulate you. Continue to have the courage to live life on your terms, okay? And we will be back here on Thursday to talk with you again, answer your questions, 12 noon. Take care, everybody. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.